More than 4,000 years ago, the oldest story humans ever wrote down was about a goddess. A goddess who walked into the land of the dead on purpose, who was stripped of everything she had, struck dead, and hung on a hook, like a piece of meat. Her name was Inanna, the Queen of Heaven, the Sumerian goddess of love and of war, the most powerful goddess of the oldest civilization on Earth. And one day, she decided to do something that no god should ever do. She decided to descend, to leave the world of the living entirely, and to go down into the underworld, the land of the dead, a place the Sumerians called the Great Below, from which no one had ever returned. Because the underworld had a queen of its own, Ereshkigal, the dread ruler of the dead, and she was Inanna's own sister. Inanna dressed for the journey like a queen marching to war. Her horned crown, her necklace of lapis, her royal robe, her breastplate, all 7 of the great symbols of her divine power. And she gave her most loyal servant, Ninshuba, a single instruction. "If I do not return in 3 days," she said, "dress yourself in mourning, go to the gods, and beg them to bring me back." Then Inanna went down to the gate of the dead and demanded to be let inside. The gatekeeper opened the first of 7 gates, and as Inanna stepped through, he reached out and lifted the crown from her head. "What is this?" she demanded. "Be silent," he answered. "The ways of the underworld are perfect. They are not to be questioned." At the 2nd gate, they took her necklace of lapis. At the 3rd, the beads from across her chest. At the 4th, her breastplate. One by one, at each of the 7 gates, another piece of her power was stripped away. And at the 7th and final gate, they took the last of it, her royal robe, so that Inanna, the Queen of Heaven, came at last before the throne of the dead with nothing at all. No crown, no robe, no power, bowed low and helpless. There sat her sister, Ereshkigal, and ringed around her sat the 7 judges of the dead, the Anunnaki. They fixed Inanna in their gaze, and Ereshkigal turned upon her own sister the eye of death. She spoke against her the word of wrath. She screamed against her the cry of guilt. And Inanna, the great goddess of heaven, was struck down where she stood. Her body became a corpse. And they took that corpse, and they hung it on a hook on the wall like a slab of meat. And there she hung. 1 day, 2 days, the Queen of Heaven, dead in the dark, while her sister sat below her. But up in the living world, Ninshuba had not forgotten. 3 days passed, and Inanna did not return. So her servant did exactly as she had been told. She dressed in mourning, and she went to the great gods, and she begged them to save the Queen of Heaven. The first god she begged refused. She wanted too much, he said. This is her own doing. The second god refused as well. But the third god was Enki, the god of wisdom and of the deep waters. And Enki could not stand by and let her stay dead. So Enki reached beneath his own fingernails, and out of the dirt there he made 2 strange little creatures, beings that were neither one thing nor the other, so small and so odd that death itself would not notice them. And he gave them 2 precious things, the food of life and the water of life. "Slip down into the underworld," he told them. "You will find its queen, Ereshkigal, groaning in terrible pain, like a woman in labor with no one to comfort her. Do not look away from her suffering. Echo it, grieve along with her. And in her gratitude, she will offer you a gift. When she does, ask only for the corpse hanging on the hook." And it worked. The little creatures slipped past every gate unnoticed. They found Ereshkigal in her agony, and they moaned when she moaned, and grieved when she grieved, until her bitter heart was eased. She offered them anything they desired, and they pointed to the body on the hook. They lifted Inanna down. They sprinkled her with the food of life and the water of life, and the Queen of Heaven opened her eyes, and she rose. But the underworld never lets anyone go for free. That is its oldest and cruelest law. No one rises back up from the land of the dead unless they leave another soul behind to take their place. So as Inanna climbed back toward the light, a horde of demons climbed with her. Cold, merciless things that knew nothing of pity. And their task was simple. Follow her into the living world and seize whoever she named, to be dragged down and die in her place. First, the demons reached for her servant, Ninshuba, still in mourning at the gate. "No," said Inanna. "She is the one who saved me. You will not touch her." Then they reached for her 2 sons and found them dressed in rags, still weeping for their lost mother. "No," said Inanna again. "They grieved for me. You will not take them either." And then they came to the great tree in the city of Uruk, and there, sitting beneath it, was Inanna's own husband, Dumuzi, the shepherd king. And he was not grieving at all. He was dressed in his finest robes. He sat on a magnificent throne, being entertained, as though his wife had never been gone. He had not mourned her for a single moment. He had simply settled into her empty seat and enjoyed it. Inanna looked down at him, and every bit of love in her turned to ice. She fixed her own husband with the very same eye of death that her sister had used to kill her. "Him," she said to the demons. "Take him." Dumuzi screamed, and he ran. He prayed to the sun god to turn him into a snake so he could slip away. He fled, and he hid in every corner he could find. But the demons of the dead always catch what they are sent to catch, and in the end, they caught him. But Dumuzi had a sister named Inanna who loved him truly, and she did something her brother had never done for anyone. She offered to take his place, to go down into the dark herself so that he could live. And so, a bargain was struck. Dumuzi would spend half of every year below in the land of the dead, and his devoted sister would spend the other half down there in his place, the 2 of them trading back and forth forever. And that, the Sumerians believed, is why the world has seasons. For half the year, while Dumuzi is in the underworld, the crops wither and the land goes cold and dies. And when he climbs back up to the world of the living, the fields turn green and everything blooms again. The oldest written story on earth. A goddess who walked willingly into death was stripped of everything and hung on a hook and clawed her way back. And a husband who could not be bothered to grieve and lost the whole world for it. I am Pantheon X. Until next time.